Am I too hard on Brock Purdy? Tell me if I am. Because sometimes I feel like people are too easy on Brock Purdy, and maybe I push back against that, and maybe it makes me seem like a Brock Purdy hater. And I want to be careful because for years I was a certified Jimmy Garoppolo hater. And was completely vindicated. I felt like he was a fraud who was the Niners' biggest weakness, and that if he wasn't on this team, he wouldn't be a starting quarterback. And I felt like I was, right. And it proved itself to be true. I hope I don't talk about Brock the same way because he's different. I mean, I don't believe that I don't believe that he's a fraud. And I don't believe that he'd be a backup on any other team. I believe he'd be a good starting quarterback on any team. It doesn't mean he'd win on any team, but I think if he were a free agent right now, I think he would get the Sam Darnold contract or the Baker Mayfield contract, which is a 3-year deal. Not a 5-year, 250 deal, but like a 3-year, 100 plus deal. And I think he'd be a great value at that price. And I think he'd be a good quarterback. Like, I think he's probably in the same tier as Baker Mayfield. And I like Baker Mayfield a lot. Baker has a stronger arm, but Brock maybe layers passes better. They both are kind of small and don't see the full field from the pocket. Brock is just as mobile as Baker, if not more mobile than Baker. So there's and like, yes, he plays with Christian McCaffrey, and yes, he has Kyle Shanahan, and yes, Kyle Shanahan's quarterbacks have a measure of success, but you gotta acknowledge that in 4 years with the Niners, Brock Purdy's touchdown percentage, year 1, 7.6, year 2, 7 flat, year 3, 4.4, and then year 5, 7 flat. Like those are Hall of Fame touchdown numbers minus that 1 year. He's really good in the red zone. He's not just like, yes, the system elevates him. It elevates all quarterbacks. It elevated Nick Mullins, but there are so many things that we see him do that is not the system. Like the way he avoids pressure, the way he operates behind an overrated subpar offensive line, the way he can get deep into his progressions, the way he can buy time. That's special stuff. So I hope I acknowledge those aspects of Brock Purdy's game. I think he's a complicated quarterback who's nuanced. I just feel like he's not elite, and I feel like he's paid elite money, and I think that isn't necessarily his fault, but I do think it affects the 49ers. I think his contract is probably the biggest limiting factor on the team. And while I do acknowledge his strengths, I feel like certain things that he gets credit for, like decision making and field vision, are completely overrated. People talk about him like he's young Drew Brees when he's not. Dude, he's much more like a young Russell Wilson, who again was Super Bowl champion, went to 2 Super Bowls, borderline Hall of Famer. But I don't think he makes quick decisions. I think he's responsible largely for the fact that every year his time to throw goes up, that he holds the ball longer, that his interception percentage has gone up every year, 2.4 in 2022, 2.5 in 2023, 2.6 in 2024, 3.5 last year. I think that's on him. I think it's a disturbing. I won't say disturbing, but it's a trend that's worth looking at. I mean, he was good last year. He was not good the year before that. He was great in 2023. Has he gotten better or worse since then? Can he stay healthy? That's really the biggest thing. Like, it seems like they can win a lot of games. They're 30-15 with him, even with the interceptions. But if he's constantly getting hurt, they won't have Mac Jones that much longer. And the reason I like Mac Jones isn't because Mac Jones is a better quarterback than Brock Purdy. I don't know that you could say that. Here are my prize picks for the 49ers 2026 season. Brock Purdy, 25.5 passing touchdowns, more or less. I'm going to say less. Christian McCaffrey, 974.5 rushing yards, more or less. I'm going to say less. Mike Evans, 924.5 receiving yards, more or less. That's a tough one. I'm going with less. Go to PrizePicks, use promo code HMA, play $5 and get 50 instantly in lineups. Again, that's code HMA. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. I think he's better from the pocket than Brock, but I think Brock is much less of a system quarterback than Mac Jones and has just a bigger skill set. There's more he can do. The pie chart of good things he does is more diverse than Mac's. But Mac, you would never have to pay Mac a 5-year contract. 250 million, 50 plus million a year. It would never happen. People know who Mac is. He's probably no, even if he played well again this year, you'd probably get him for cheap. You might even get him for like 2 years, 50, 25 per, 30 plus, 30 tops. That's the allure. You can win a Super Bowl. You don't have to have an elite quarterback to win a Super Bowl. The last 2 Super Bowl winning quarterbacks were not elite, Darnold and Jalen Hurts. But as long as they're not grossly overpaid, you're okay. And I guess the question with Brock is he grossly overpaid? I think so, but it hasn't been proven yet. And his cap numbers haven't really exploded yet. He's still, I think his cap number this year is smaller than Darnold's. So there's still a window there, but it's closing. And then next year they'll have to decide whether they want to give him $55 million guaranteed. So this year's important. But I hope I capture the nuance of Brock Purdy well, because I think there is nuance there, and I do think he's the best quarterback I've covered. But some people talk about him like he's Jesus Christ, like he's top 5 in the league right now. And I just don't. I think that's fan fiction. I think it's fair to be somewhere in the middle and not be a hater, like Tyler. Tyler's such a hater. I egg Tyler on. I'm a bad influence for Tyler. I think Tyler really secretly likes Brock, but then he gets on this show and I start leading him down that path and he goes for it. And then his dad calls him up and is like, "What happened, son? Well, what happened? Why'd you have to go? Why'd you have to do that for Brock?" Is Brock a top 10 quarterback? He can be. With Kyle Shanahan, he has been for large stretches. But a top 10 quarterback, I think, needs to be a little bit more available. If he were a top 10 quarterback and Kyle thought that, Mac Jones wouldn't be on this team. But he's still 45 starts deep into his career. That's nothing. Sam Darnold didn't really get started in his career until he was like 70 or 80 starts in. So we'll see. We'll see. I like Brock Purdy. Another thing about Brock Purdy, people think I have like this personal thing against Brock. I actually kind of did have, I'm not saying I had a personal thing against Jimmy. I just didn't like Jimmy. I thought he was aloof and not helpful, and I thought he was not available. And then when he was available, I thought his answers were awful. I just thought he was a fraud in every way. Brock takes his job so seriously. He's so earnest in every. Jimmy was not earnest. Brock is super earnest. He's earnest in the meetings. He's earnest away from the facility. He's earnest on the field. He works really hard. He takes his job. He earns his contract, at least with his work ethic. And he's cool with the media, which I think, look, I think it matters. Maybe it doesn't. But like, you watch Brock Purdy's group interviews. They're great. He doesn't have a sense of humor like Mac, but he answers questions earnestly, sincerely. He thinks about them. He answers at length. Jimmy didn't do that. Colin Kaepernick didn't do that. Alex Smith did that. I really appreciate, and like in addition, Brock will be sitting in his locker. You can go over to Brock and say hello, and he'll be like, "Hey, how you doing, Grant?" He'll talk to you about non-football things. He doesn't hold grudges. Me and him have talked about clothes and fashion a lot, because even though he dresses like a dork, he doesn't always do that. He actually has a cool fashion sense. I just think he wants to portray a certain image at the group interviews. But a lot of times he has like a cool jacket and I'll be like, "Brock, where'd you get that?" He's like, "Well, I got it in San Francisco." I'm like, "Oh, have you actually been to this place?" He's like, "No, I haven't checked." He's a good, I like him, and Mac are really down to earth and cool. I can't say they're down. I don't know if they're down to earth. They're just cool to me. And I like that. So I enjoy covering Brock. I think he's a good guy as much as I know him. And I'm glad that he got an extension. I'm glad that he's made such a success of himself. And when I talk about his contract, I'm just talking about it from the perspective of the 49ers and what's best for their organization. I think he understands that. That's another thing I like about Brock. He doesn't take anything personally. A lot of people do. He has this and he's like 25 years old. He has this wisdom. Like, I get it. When I ask him a question, he'll give me this smile like, "Grant, I don't like you at all, but deep down, I think I get you. And I understand. I respect it. Like, I hate your whole perspective, but I respect it. And I'll answer your question. He never gives me a snarky answer. And Kyle does. I also think Kyle likes me to a certain extent and wants to be in on the joke and doesn't want to be defensive. And I respect that too. I think Brock does a better job of it than Kyle. Kyle can be defensive. So can I, though. I think I'm much more like Kyle than I am like Brock. Brock has this like Christian stoicism, like I can't. I have anxiety, I worry, I have self-doubt. Brock doesn't have any of that, doesn't seem. Brock is just, he's like, no, I talked to Jesus last night. He got me. We're gonna win this week. I'm like, damn, I wish I could talk to Jesus too, man. He doesn't talk to me ever. Is it because I'm Jewish? Damn it. Anyway, go Brock, go Mac. Hope they do well. I wouldn't have given him $50 million a year though. I'm just saying, you a Brock hater. Was that hateful? I don't think Brock would call that hateful. And that's another thing. How come Brock's fans are so much more sensitive than Brock? Do you realize that your favorite player is super not sensitive? That one of the defining characteristics of Brock Purdy is his thick skin and inner confidence and self-belief? That's what you like. He doesn't need your support. He doesn't need you having his back like he's your little brother. He's not 11. That's what I don't get about his fans. Brock has the thickest skin of anyone. He doesn't need you to be like, you're hating. Give him an apology right now. You think he wants an apology from me? He wouldn't care. He laughs one way or another.